we're just so easy in the real world. Hi, Brock Davidson, Brock's Performance. Look at what we've done to our new motorcycle. Today, the topic is going to be restriction and how to get rid of them. There are plenty of ways to do it. Some bikes have speed limiters. This particular bike, we know that the throttle blades are closing early, and we're going to talk about the electronic throttle valve, as it's known, or ETV, in the flashing world. And we've monitored or thrown in all kinds of wires here so that we can monitor what's going on, measure the performance, and change it, and show you exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, real time. Check this out. Okay, let me show you what we've got here. If you move in a little closer, you can see no airbox, and we have very scientifically tie wrapped the secondary fuel rail into place so that we can start the bike and run it without spraying fuel all over the place. Now, first of all, let's talk about throttle blades. That's what's in here, inside the throttle bodies. Now, back in the old days, the throttle was connected to the carburetors or throttle blades. I'm going to go ahead and cycle the throttle here. You can hear it, I can feel it, but as you can see, nothing happens. Because today, the cables come down here and they go into a little contraption where all it does is give you the feel of a throttle, but that's actually going into a potentiometer measuring resistance, also called a rheostat, and then it's sending a signal through some wires in the harness that come over here into this little deal. It's a servo, and that signal is what moves the throttle blades. So I'm just going to real quickly turn the key on. It cycles the blades electronically. So back to our Franken wiring here. We've got a signal set up here to our dyno, which is going to measure the grip position. So if I'm at 0 throttle, it's going to measure that. And if I'm at 100% throttle, it's going to measure that. We've gone ahead and installed a power commander. And you're saying, but Brock, there's no power commander for the 2017 GSX-R. If you look back here, sure there is. And we've got some painter's tape showing that that's what it is. Well, it's actually started life as a 2015 R1. Power commanders don't know what they're supposed to fit. Our friends at Dynojet helped us out, whacked some of the connectors off. If you look down there, we're coming from the gear position indicator. If you look over here, we're coming from the crank trigger. And if you look back here, we're going to the throttle position sensor, which is actually going to tell us the blade angle relevant to the throttle, or the blade angle here, and where that's moving. Well, you should most people would say, well, Brock, if you're turning the throttle with the bike running, shouldn't what you're doing at the grip and what you're doing at the throttle match? Well, common sense would tell you it should, but today's motorcycles don't do that, and we're going to show you exactly what's happening there. And we're going to do that by adjusting the ECU. If you stay there for just 1 second, we have 2 ECUs. One is the original stock ECU. The other is Brock's spare. This stock ECU is going to stay stock. This one we are going to adjust via this cool little cable that we have from our friends over at FlashTune. And FlashTune allows us to go in and change the ECU, and we're going to be able to adjust the electronic throttle valve to take some of the restrictions out. And we're going to show you that here next.
All right, so what we're going to do here is start the bike and watch the throttle blades work. If you notice, this is the blade angle, that's throttle position, and that's grip sensor. Go ahead and Get a run going here. So the throttle position is at 2%, blade angle is at 2%. And this is with the stock ECU. Now the grip position and the throttle position, they're going to be close. They don't match exactly, but they're within a couple percent of each other, and that's fine for what we're doing. So watch the blade angle and watch what happens as we try to make a dyno run. Also want you to watch the grip position to show that I'm going to be at full throttle and I'm not going to let go of full throttle. Here we go. How cool was that? I stayed at 100% throttle, but the throttle blades turned back in the mid 60 to 70% range. Now that's with the stock ECU. We're going to stop here and put the flashed ECU in. Okay, so I just stopped, switched over to the flashed ECU, and the only thing that is done to that ECU is we have told the 100% throttle column to go to 100% and stay there when we're at wide open throttle. So let's see what happens here. Okay, same thing's going to happen. You can watch the grip position. We'll be at 100%. Watch the throttle blades, and let's see if they stay open this time. That's exactly what we wanted it to do. We are now de-restricted at 100% throttle. Let's put this thing back together and see what kind of power it makes.
Okay, so we put the bike back together, we put the airbox back on. Why did we do that? Because nobody cares what kind of horsepower this bike makes without an airbox, without velocity stacks, without all the things that Suzuki put in here to make sure that the bike runs correctly. So, we're going to make a baseline run. We haven't made any runs since our, I guess it'd be our second pull. So you're going to find out when I find out what kind of power it's made after the break-in. Now, we tried to do a 10-mile break-in. Guess what? First motorcycle in history, well, no, maybe not, way back. This thing doesn't register speed off of the rear wheel. The front wheel isn't spinning, so after taking it for several rides doing our break-in procedure, it still has 0 miles on it. So we're just sort of guessing. We went by time, whatever. They're broken in from the factory basically anyway. So we put some miles on it. We're going to see what kind of horsepower it makes in these conditions right now on the dyno. I just looked here a moment ago. It says humidity's about 50% right now. Weather's getting better. There was a storm. It moved out. And then you're going to see how quick it is for us to swap to the Flashed ECU. There's no tuning in this ECU except for opening the throttle blades quicker. Now, I mentioned that I had a power commander on the bike. You're going to see why. But there's no map in that power commander. It's got all zeros in it. So there's no tuning. This is just what happens when you open the throttle blades quicker. We'll get to all the rest of the stuff in due time. I'm just excited myself to see what happens. So watch. "15 horsepower, that quick, that simple, that easy." So this is pretty cool. The blue line here was our very first run, made 163 horsepower SAE scale. Now the run we just made with the stock ECU, 165, and then we very quickly threw in the Flashed ECU and we got a peak of 180. Now, for the sake of discussion, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the first run because we didn't have our tack signal set up there very good. So now we'll be able to pull in engine RPM, and now we've got torque. All right. So now we've got maximum torque. The peak torque didn't actually change, but if you look here, when the throttle blade shut off, there's just a huge difference in torque from 72 foot-pounds to 62 foot-pounds at 13,000 RPM. Wow. Just really big numbers. 10 foot-pounds of torque difference, and this is just by derestricting. So let me, I want to show you something. I'm going to go ahead and turn this torque off because it clutters things up. So, Brock, why would you put a power commander on if you can flash the ECU? Sorry, it takes a little while to get all this stuff set up right. So this is really awesome. When we go here, if you look at the stock ECU run, you can see that the throttle blades aren't open. At 4,300 RPM, they're still not open. Whereas with the Flashed ECU, at 4,300 RPM, they're open 100%. And they stay open the entire run. With the stock ECU, at 6,000 RPM, they're not open. And they're still not open until about, 7,000 RPM. Now let's come over here to our flash chart, where we see at 100% throttle, about 6,800 RPM is stock. They don't open 100%. And then they start closing here a little before 11,000. Well, let's go look. Here's where they start to close. 10.8. So we're verifying exactly what's going on, and we can see it in the power numbers. At the 100% chart, 100% open, look at the power increase. Make this a little bit bigger. Look, the throttle blades stay open, and the power just keeps on climbing. Now, it does start to fall off here up top, but we haven't tuned anything yet. We haven't put on an aftermarket exhaust. We haven't changed the air cleaner. We haven't done anything. All we did was keep those throttle blades open. So this is going to get really exciting. And right now, you know, stock for stock in these conditions, we've got a 180 horsepower motorcycle, and we're just getting started. So this is very exciting. It's fun to watch. We have an awful lot of fun here. So hope you're enjoying yourself. Hope you've learned something. And I did want to point something out here before we go. If you look, I know I pointed out on the power commander here. Yes, it's hooked up. We've got our zero map in it. It's not doing anything. So we're going to start tuning. We'll show you how we typically tune any other motorcycle. And you know, these throttle-by-wire bikes, they're all the same, whether it be an S1000RR, an R1, a ZX-10, the new GSX-R. They are a bear to tune. We're going to show you how we do that. And then we're going to compare that to flashing the ECU. So stay tuned.